If you ever got real bored one day and started looking up the economic data of different countries, or just an AP Human Geography student, you probably have heard someone mention something about the country's different economic sectors. You probably wondered, what in God's green earth are economic sectors? First, language. Second, the economic sectors are just a fancy way to break down economic activities into different categories. They can be used to show a country's development based on which types of economic sectors are most practiced. In this extremely over-the-top informational video, we will explain the 5 different economic sectors and how they relate to a country's economic development.
The first sector of the economy is the primary sector, which involves the extraction of natural resources. This can include the vegetables that you always forget to eat, or the diamonds that you think you'd be able to afford for a future partner. Before the Industrial Revolution, this was the predominant economic sector that people worked in, with the large majority of that being in agriculture. Most modern examples of countries that have the majority of their labor force in the primary sector are undeveloped countries that are not industrialized, such as Niger, Somalia, and Chad. Anyway, jobs in the primary sector are often not the highest paying, simply because the extraction of raw materials produce very little economic value per amount of work when compared to making sports cars or luxury watches. As more of the population decides that they don't like having enough money to afford proper sanitation infrastructure, they will try to shift the economy more towards
the Industrial Revolution, as usually, is responsible for the radical changes that resulted in the secondary sector of the economy. The secondary sector involves processing of raw materials from the primary sector, otherwise known as manufacturing. Aside from the excessive amounts of negligence, jobs in the economic sector are actually extremely good, since the employees had a pretty solid reason to demand raises. Why get paid the same as Farmer Joe when your clothes are easily over 10 times more valuable per pound than this kind? In the modern day, countries that are trying to get to a semi-livable standard of living are often the ones specializing more into secondary sector. One of the only modern examples of a country that has the majority of its labor force is in the secondary sector in Angola. Though many of more has sizable amounts of industry, and many more have used jobs in the secondary sectors to slingshot their economy towards development. The United Kingdom and other European countries throughout the 1800s, the United States in the mid to late 1800s, Japan in the 1950s, China and India in the mid to late 1900s, though at different times, Southeast Asia in the 1960s all grew their economies by specializing more in secondary sector industries, common starting points being textiles and steel. They then all eventually decided that factories are stupid and chose to get even richer by specializing in services. An example of
Right. Associated with services such as transportation, banking, retail, education, and more, jobs in the tertiary sector form the backbone of the modern economies of most developed countries and a lot of developing countries. You remember how jobs in the secondary sector generate far more value than jobs in the primary sector? Well, if primary sector jobs are a Neanderthal, and secondary sector jobs are yourself, tertiary sector jobs are you if you got 8 hours of sleep, had straight A's, did not spontaneously combust after a mile run, and were not mindlessly wandering through life trying to figure out how to create the most confusing slang in human history. Tertiary service jobs are so economically efficient because they do not even need to produce things to generate value. Building a computer might generate a net profit of $400, but that same computer can be used to host an online tutoring service that can generate over $400,000 per year. Because of how lucrative tertiary sector jobs are, many countries have a majority of their jobs in this sector. From Canada and North America, to Switzerland and Europe, to Taiwan and East Asia, and many more. Wait. Why does the script say there are 5 economic sectors when we only are talking about 3? Start the subclasses!
The tertiary sector covers a massively wide array of industries and jobs, from the janitor, who is for some reason the most saintly person you'll ever meet, to that one customer service employee who just looks done with everything. For this reason, some tertiary services can be classified as quaternary or quinary. Quaternary sector industries are service sector industries concerned with the collection, processing, and manipulation of information and capital. Examples of quaternary sector industries include finance, administration, insurance, legal services, advertising, research and development, media, culture, and information and communications technology. Meanwhile, quaternary sectors industries are service sector industries that require high level of specialized knowledge, technical skill, or rearrangement of new or existing ideas, usually by telling quaternary sector workers what to do. Examples include the management of scientific research, health, education, utilities, government, and tourism. Industries in these two economic sectors are most common in highly developed regions such as Silicon Valley in California with its large concentration of startups, and New York City with its financial services. Basically, a cashier is in a normal tertiary sector job, the lawyer that everyone thinks is soulless but is just too exhausted to bother feeling emotions is in a quaternary sector job, and the law firm executive who actually is soulless is in a quinary sector job. Wait, hold up. We are suing you for defamation of our executives. We estimate that the damage done to our reputation is worth roughly $200,000 in reparations. The trial begins on July 7th, 2023. The law firm.
Well, that was a long one. To help you recap, we learned about the 5 economic sectors and how they related to the country's development. Thank you for watching our first video and likely the last one unless you find a lawyer. Dude, that was bad. Do you know a lawyer?
What? No!
Does anyone know a lawyer?